In front of me I have a stack of comics from Adrian Tomine. And I don't know where I can start. Maybe with the beginning. This re-edition of the old stories Adrian Tomine published since he was 17. It's maybe a good starting point. He has this ongoing series, Optic Nerve. You should know about this. It's a bit comparable to Daniel Claw's 8-Ball or Love and Rockets from the Hernandez brothers. Not as crazy as Daniel Claw's, not as a huge coherent cosmos like the Hernandez brothers developed. And maybe you can throw a bit Chris Ware into the mix. So you have a certain direction how Tomine's comics are and about the content. It's generally speaking almost the life and characters that are of interest for him and his comics, and this since the beginning. Here's a little book with introductions and texts from Tomine himself, how this box came into production, and he could had a deluxe hardbound edition of his first comics if he wanted, but he didn't want because he saw the flaws of his first comics. And to be honest, this first comic, it cries out to be the comic of 17, a talented 17 with a certain attitude. I mean a comic you call Optic Nerve, and with a page of content that is this, you might say, a bit pretentious. And the drawings you have to offer are really flawed and not perfect, sketchy, and it's at least it's just 9 pages and 2 pages content table. So for sure not the greatest comic of all time, but from historic importance, I would say, because Adrian Tomine today has surely his place in the comic world. And the stories are really interesting, short stories, ambiguous, and quite amazing for a 17-year-old one. And it's very interesting to see how he evolves over the first 7 issues of Optic Nerve that are collected in this box here. It's a slow but steady progress you can watch and observe here. Even in issue 2, there's really jump in the storytelling. But he looks really for his way for doing comics. There, I think here you can see already a glimpse of the future Tomine. So he came with a sticker. He really puts an effort into these little comic books, even though they are just 8 pages of content. And with issue 5 we have already, here, readers' response. We have a bit of higher page count, and the Tomine style, this clear drawing style, starts to emerge. We're looking at these panels here, and for sure his interest in personal relations, in characters, in observing the lives of people, that's already there, right from the start. And so, yeah, this is here issue 7, and I don't know if it's in the English version too, but here are some comics that I got in another collection of Tomine comics already, because after this one he has his breakthrough with, I guess, Drawn and Quarterly. Here's this collection of comics. Echo Avenue, or Echo Avenue, is the German title. German title, not very German, of course, but I think this is in English the title Sleepwalk and Other Stories. Of course, here are first bigger short stories, if this makes sense, and this comic here is taken out of Optic Nerve number 7. And I think there's another one too. Yeah, Sleepwalk. Okay. So, sommerblond in German and sommerblond in English. That's one of my favorites. The other favorite, I tell you right now, is halbe wahrheiten. In English, it's shortcomings. It's about complexes of inferiority of people of Asian heritage or so, racial conflicts on a daily, very average basis. What does it mean to be of Asian heritage in America? Personal relationships, and so on and so on. And it takes time to, Tomine takes his time to develop the characters that are very beautiful, rendered, and developed clearly distinct from each other. And it's not kitschy or cliché, soapy, like your usual romance novel, which wouldn't be nothing for me. But this is really fantastic story, and one of my favorites of him, and I can't decide if I put this book or Sommerblond on the first place, because Sommerblond is more of the same, but yeah, really fantastic. I like them. Maybe Shortcomings is a bit stronger to contradict myself here. Oops, camera here, stay here. So, and here's a little nice mini comic Tomine did as a memoir for his wedding, and it was done as a gift for the wedding guests. And he and his wife tell the story of how they prepared for the wedding and all the nice luxury problems that came with it, and who should be invited to their marriage. And of course they blacked out the ones that they were not invited. Here. Well, we flew for their wedding and so on, and I didn't want to show who's about whom they're talking. And yeah, nice little book here. And for those of you who are already married and have had a marriage, they will find many things as a déjà vu here, I think. New York Drawings is not a comic book. A hardcover, deluxe, oversized collection of Tomine's drawings for the New Yorker. Not the cheapest book, but as you see, a very well-made book. And for those of you who can enjoy Tomine's art without a story, very atmospheric, I think, delivers the feeling to be in New York. I think I don't live in New York, but if you look at these pages, you can maybe get the feeling that it's not the best place, the worst place at all. Nice book, but maybe not. Maybe save your money and get the real deal and the real comics from Tomine, like this killer book, no pun intended, Killing and Dying from Adrian Tomine, his last offering, a collection of the latest installments of Optic Nerve. And what do I mean by killer book? It's made so perfect. Like Adrian Tomine always puts thoughts why into the making process of the books. He's obviously he's involved, like in the republishing of the old Optic Nerves, where he has, like I said, decided to don't do this as a deluxe hardcover trade, because he really thought in this fashion it would be more true to what these comics actually were. And yeah, and there's a new comic here. The comics in this book could be totally crap. If someone does this sleeve, such a translucent sleeve over this comic, and when you pull it off, you have just Adrian Tomine stories on it. And you open it up and you have just this plane, and on the back, I don't know if you can get this, but this totally sells this book for me. If they're just comics about the last unicorn and bees and ants and kitschy stuff in it, I would totally keep this book just for this part. Maybe this is the book fetishist in me, but it's wonderful. So, and these stories here are 6 stories from Adrian Tomine. They are no crap at all, at least, and they are beautiful, intelligent, and gripping as far as short stories can be gripping for me. I sort of prefer longer story arcs, but these short stories are really art. The first story, Horticulture, about a gardener who thinks of himself suddenly as an artist, is drawn in this very classic style you find, I think, in many American newspapers, and that gives the rhythm of this comic, because you have always 6, like for 6 days from Monday to Saturday, and on Sunday you have a full page of colored comic. And even though, to my knowledge, this was never done for a newspaper, or wasn't nearly really intended to be in a newspaper, it pretends so. It uses this 6++1 rhythm to tell the story of this guy, and in the way subtle things are told, it's wonderful, because this guy here who thinks of himself as an artist loses his life in this time when he produces this really hideous things of plant and sculpture, and it's neither of which, and not art, nor really plant, nor nature, just ugly stuff. And his wife, because he loves him, bears with it, while we see him getting older and older, and it's just in the pictures. Same with his wife. He has this belly growing, and no word in the text refers to her pregnancy, that she's pregnant. And we don't see his child either, because he's so in his delusions of grandiosity that he seems to forget really about his child. And just on one panel we see his daughter. Just see this tiny arm around the leg of this its mother. And I love this, because it says so much that he's just in his dreams and making plans, while the true life of his is going completely another way. I don't want to give anything away about how this story all works out in the end, but just let me say as much as this. I compared Tomine's comics to Chris Ware's comics, and in as far as the precision of his style and the poignant details and so on, it's very well rewarded. It's a true comparison, I think. But there's at least one big difference. Chris Ware's stories usually tend to be to end sad. They're always very melancholic and sad. And of course, Tomine's stories tend to be melancholic too, and sad too. There's this feeling of hope, of redemption of sorts, not in a religious way, but he has hope. He has belief in his characters, even though they act sometimes obviously stupid, like this man here. That's something very touching. So, yeah, and there are 5 other stories which are good, great, and gripping, touching. I like this about a girl who wants to become a comedian. And there are some quotations from Seinfeld, which never can't be wrong. And yeah, wonderful book. This last story. It looks almost a bit like Darwin Cook, one of my other favorites. So I did a lot of name dropping today, didn't I? But I think Tomine is there in the in my shrine of favorite comic artists. Maybe not not as high as Daniel Close or Darwin Cook, but close. Pretty close. So, have I forgot something? No. Thanks for listening and watching. Goodbye.